This is the horse I really wanted. Okay, here's the horse we're talking about, this Palomino gelding. And I featured him in my previous video about cutting horse training. And in that video, I said, I'll tell the story about how I bought this horse because the way I got him was pretty bizarre. Well, I ended up not telling the story because the video was getting too long. And I received a bunch of emails from people saying, hey, I really wanted to hear the story. So anyway, I'm going to tell the story today in this video because it is pretty bizarre how I got him. But the way it started was I went to visit a horse trainer friend of mine by the name of Billy Ferris. And Billy is a top cutting horse trainer. I mean, he's not famous or anything like that, but he is as good as there is. But anyway, so I'm driving over to his training facility, and when I get there, he's riding this Palomino stallion, a 2-year-old, a late 2-year-old, and I watched Billy ride him for about 10 minutes, and I asked him, is the horse for sale? And he goes, yeah, the owner wants to sell him. And so I asked him how the horse is bred, and he wasn't that well bred. His sire was I guess was a good horse, but not popularly bred. I found out the horse's mother had never done anything, and she was kind of considered a reject. So the breeding wasn't in his favor, but he was a good-looking horse, and he was a good mover. And he just had that look about him. My gut just told me this was a good horse. I don't know if you've ever had that gut feeling about a horse before, but I've had that gut feeling several times. And every time I've had that gut feeling about a horse, my gut was right. Those horses turned out to be big-time winners. Anyway, because the horse wasn't that well bred, and now when I say he's a 2-year-old, he's just about ready to turn 3. I mean, he's a late 2-year-old, and so he gets started late. I think Billy had ridden him about 2 months, and he'd never been on cattle. He'd just ridden him, dry. And Billy said the horse was priced at $4,500. And I'm thinking, he's not that well bred, and he started really late. For a futurity horse, because I'm looking at him as a futurity prospect. I'm thinking, he's not going to bring, 4,500 if, nobody's going to want him at off-bred and started late on top of it. So, I tell Billy, nah, I don't want him. And I'm thinking I can come back in 30 days and offer him less money and they'll take it. Well, hell, as luck would have it, they sold him the very next day, and they sold him to a rancher. The guy wanted him as a ranch horse, and I figured, boy, I really missed out on that deal. And I told Billy, I said, if the horse doesn't work out for some reason, have him give me a call. So like a couple months later, my phone rings, and it's the guy that bought the horse, and he says, hey, Billy told me you were interested in that horse. You still interested in him? And I'm going, well, I don't know. I'm kind of downplaying it. I don't want to tell him, yeah, I really want the horse. I want to be able to negotiate the price down, right? So I says, I don't know. I thought he was a good-looking horse, but he's off-bred and he started late, and I don't know. And I asked him, I says, well, you've only had him a couple of months. How come you want to sell him already? And he says, well, I wanted him as a ranch horse, but he's scared to death of cattle. So, I can't use him on the ranch. And I'm thinking, oh, this is great. So I tell the guy, I said, well, I was wanting him as a cutting futurity horse. And if he's scared of cattle, well, it's kind of a crapshoot. Now, in reality, I had trained quite a few horses that were afraid of cattle, and sometimes that's an advantage, a horse being afraid of cattle. versus a horse wanting to dominate a cow. You know, horse being afraid of cattle does not bother me at all. And so, like I say, in some instances, it's actually a plus. So anyway, I kind of downplay it because, like I said, I want to negotiate this price down. And I'm figuring he paid $4,500 for him. I know I can get him for you know, no more than $4,500, but I'd like to get him down to about $3,500 if I can. And so I tell him, yeah, you know, I don't know. And so the guy says, well, how about I drop him off at your barn and you ride him for 30 days and then you decide if you want him or not, and we'll talk. And I go, okay, great. So he hauls him over to the barn and drops him off, and you know, I can't wait to ride him because, you know, like I say, my gut's telling me this is going to be a good son of a gun. So I get him saddled up and I put him on a cow, or I try to put him on a cow, and the guy that owned him was right. He was scared to death of cattle. I mean, scared of cattle. And if a cow did anything out of the norm, I mean, this horse would turn tail and take off running. He wanted didn't want anything to do with them. You know, he thought they were going to get him. And I just worked around it. And, you know, this video's going to be too short for me to tell you how I worked around it. But I worked around it and convinced him that they weren't going to get him and that we should pay attention and you know, work the cow. And I tell you what, once I showed him that, once I reasoned with him about that, man, you talk about a fast learner. I mean, as fast a learning a horse as I've ever had, and smart. I mean, smart. You know, if you want a cutting horse, I mean, you want the smartest horse you can get, because, you know, they have to think for themselves. You know, you can't, you know, how quickly a cow reacts and as quickly as a horse needs to react to that cow, you can't put some secret signals on him. Now I do put some control on my cutting horses. You know, I want them between my legs and I want them to listen to my body and all that kind of good stuff. But in reality, they have to think and make judgments on their own. And so you need a super intelligent horse if he's going to be a big winner, you know. And this horse, man, smart. So, you know, 30 days go by and I'm sold on this horse. I mean, I want this son of a gun really bad. And, you know, so the end of the 30 days is just about up. And, you know, so I'm making my plans, you know, how to negotiate the price down. You know, now, I'm not going to lie to the guy. It's not my style to lie to somebody to get the price down, but I'm darn sure not going to, you know, tell him how smart he is. You know, I'm just going to omit some of the facts, you know. But anyway, so, you know, I'm riding this horse 5-6 days a week, you know, because he's behind, right? I mean, you know, there's only 8 months till the futurity, and, you know, it's a 50-50 chance he'll be ready or not. But I want to give it, I want to try to have him ready. So I'm riding him like 6 days a week. And I'm not killing him. Each training session is really only about 15 minutes. And in reality, that's about all it ever should be. You know, unless you work them a couple times a day, 2 or 3 times a day, then it has to be even shorter than that per session. But the main thing is to get the horse to understand what you're doing. Let him think about what you're doing. Let him understand the name of the game. And I'll tell you this, cutting horse competition is one of the few events that if a horse understands the game, they actually like it. I mean, you know, I've trained all kinds of horses. I mean, you name it, I've trained it. And cutting horse competition is by far the event that horses like to do the most. You know, if they've got some cow and and brains, they got to have brains. So anyway, you know, I forget what day of the week it was, but I saddled him up like normal, and I'm going to work him. And I mean, you know, he's working awesome, really wanting to do it, showing a lot of expression, using himself really good. You know, just couldn't ask for more. And while I'm working him, a car pulls up, you know, into by the barn, the parking lot by the barn there. And, you know, I don't think anything of it. There's 4 trainers, including myself, working out of Slide J Ranch. I mean, we have people coming and going all the time. So, you know, you don't pay any attention to somebody pulling up. And so I just continue to work him. Well, as it turns out, it was the guy that owns him, the guy that owns the horse, and his wife, you know, the whole family. And so they're watching me work him before I'm done, and I pet him, hey, good boy, and I'm just praising him, and I step off and loosen the cinch and pet him, and I look over and see it's the guy that owns the horse. And I'm thinking, oh man, now they know how good he is. They've seen him work. And the guy that owned him, no stranger to cutting horses, his nephew is a top cutting horse trainer. So, you know, he recognizes a good cutting horse when he sees one, and now he just saw one. And I'm thinking, oh man, I wish I would have paid attention. If I would have known it was him, I would have just quit working right then and there. You know, but I didn't. And so they walk up to the fence, and I say hello, and, you know, we exchange a couple of pleasantries, and he says, let's get down to business here. What do you think about the horse? And I go, yeah, he's all right. And he says, we just watched him work. He's way better than all right. You know, and I mean, I couldn't argue. I mean, what am I going to say? You know, he watched him work. So, you know, I says, yeah, I like him, and you know, I'll go ahead and take him. You know, you paid $4,500 for him. You know, he's way behind, and he's not, you know, he's not bred. I'll give you $3,500. And the guy just, he laughs. And he goes, he's worth way more than $3,500. I know it, and you know it. And I mean, you know, what am I going to say? Yeah, he's worth way more than that. And so I just say, well, what's it going to take? And he says, $9,000. And I go, oh man, $9,000? I mean, you want double what you paid for him? You know, and I'm the one that fed him for a month and rode him for a month and, you know, put in all the work, you know, $7,500. And he goes, nah, $9,000. You know he's worth it. I know he's worth it. He's actually worth more than that. So that's it. Take it or leave it. I mean, you don't want him. I can just take him somewhere else and easily get it. And, you know, I know he's right. I mean, he could easily get it. So I just say, okay, and we shake hands, and I put the horse away, go to my truck, write the check for $9,000, and, you know, I says, well, you know, I want the papers. And he says, well, I don't have the papers. And I'm thinking, oh man, I said, well, give me back the check. And he goes, well, do we have a deal or don't we? Papers or no papers? Do we have a deal? And, you know, I wanted to say no. But I wanted the horse so bad. This is where blind desire, you know, overrides common sense and reason. I says, keep the check, try to get me the papers. He goes, you know, I've been trying to get the papers for the couple of months that I've had him, and I can't get them. There's a lady that owns him, and she said Billy never paid her for the horse, and she still owns him. And I says, man, you're just complicating things. I says, look, don't cash that check. Let me talk to her and see what the deal is. So he was a good enough guy. He says, okay, I won't cash the check for a week. And so I get the lady's name and telephone number, and I call her up and I tell her the situation. And she's going, I was never paid for that horse. She said, I let the trainer take the horse, and I was supposed to get paid, and I never got paid. And I said, well, I paid $9,000 for the horse, and I says, what can I do? What can I do to get you to sign the papers over to me? And she says, send me a couple $1,000. I'll send you the papers. So I did. I sent her a check for $2,000, and just a few days later, I got the papers, and that worked out great. Now, you might want to know how it turned out overall. So I ride this horse for the next 8 months. The Pacific Coast Futurity was coming up in 8 months, and we go there. I enter him up, and it's a big entry fee. I mean, it's not pocket change. So I enter him up, and I know he's got a shot if I'm careful what I cut. I don't want to cut. I can't cut a cow that's too tough for him, because he's going there with literally only half the training that all the other horses at the Futurity are going to have. So anyway, we're entered up, and people watched me work him in the practice pen before the first go around. And there were a lot of trainers that really liked him and asked me about him, how's he bred, all that kind of stuff. He's bred like nothing. There's nothing special about his breeding. And I says, on top of it, he's only had 8 months on a cow. And they said, whoa, man, he looks good for only 8 months. And I go, yeah, I'm pretty happy with him. But anyway, so first go around, we're up. And I drew, as luck would have it, I draw up toward the end of the herd. So all the good cattle are already cut. We're left with, cattle that aren't that good. But, it is what it is, So I go in there, I'm real careful about what I cut the first cow, and it turns out great. We're having a good run. Go in for my second cow, same thing. Boy, that worked out good. And we're having about a 219 run, and then I go in for my third cow, and I'm pressed for time. We're running out of time, and you don't want to die in the herd. I mean, you want to, when the buzzer goes off, you want to be working and looking good. So I kind of rush my third cut, and end up cutting a cow that's too tough for him. I mean, this sucker is kind of bad, and he loses it right at the buzzer. So, man, I'm just, kicking myself in the butt for being that careless. I would have been better off dying in the herd than, losing a cow at the buzzer. So anyway, I'm walking out of the arena, but there's trainers waiting for me out there behind the judges' stand, waiting to talk to me. And the first question they ask, there's like 3 of them. First question they ask is, how much? What do you want for how much you want for him? Because they can all see what he is. And I don't know, I don't really want to sell him. And there's one trainer that I've known a long time, and he says, man, you were marking big time. I've got a client that really wants to buy a horse, and they will buy this horse, and they'll give you $30,000 tomorrow. No vet check, no nothing, just write you the check. And, I should have took it, but I knew I had a winner. And I'm going, okay, we blew out out of the Futurity, but there's a whole bunch of 4-year-old stuff coming up, and we'll win our money then. And so, in the meantime, I'm going to enter him up in some club shows, some smaller shows, and get him some experience so that when the derbies come up, he's seasoned and ready. And I show him in a couple smaller shows, and he wins both of them. And right after that, I blow out my left knee, and gotta have knee surgery, right? And as luck would have it, the doctor botches the surgery, and I'm limping around, can't walk, can't ride, can't do anything for like the next 8-9 months, until I finally go to a different doctor and he says, man, you need a knee replacement. So we got to go through the knee replacement. I literally wasted this horse's 4-year-old year. It just killed me. So anyway, that's the story. And the folks that really wanted me to tell it, I hope I hope you like the story. Anyway, yeah, that's it. All right. We'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.
Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, go ahead and click that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so YouTube notifies you when I upload a new video. Leave your comments and questions in the comment section below the video. Oh, and don't forget to go to my website and get that free membership. It'll give you access to all kinds of good stuff. I mean, you'll learn a bunch. I'll have a link to it down below also. Okay, that's all for now. Take care.